What's going on, everybody? Welcome, episode 10 of the Changavi Show. We are live and on your YouTube screen, or you're listening to me on Spotify. But regardless of where you're listening, there is a show to be done. And there's a Changavi show today. This isn't a Changavi report, so no news, no serious stuff. That's why my title today is Casual Changavi. You got to keep it casual. My shirt says free hugs, the vibes are good. The lighting is set. Little casual time, but we're going to talk about some serious stuff, but we're going to have a good time doing it. So, without further ado, let's get this show started. The vibes. How is it going? Honestly, it's been, the first week of school just ended. Well, not just ended. It's Thursday night. There's still one more day to go technically, but I finished all my work. So that should mean something. It's been online, virtual. So still haven't stepped into a classroom in over about a year and a half, which is kind of fucking insane if you think about it. Dude, I still am like, wow, I still cannot believe that I haven't stepped into a classroom in about a year and a half. That, to me, that is crazy shit to think about. But yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed the virtual class setting. I've been taking a couple communications classes because that's what I think I'm going to major in now. I think I'm pretty locked into that major finally. I kind of went through like 6 or 7 different majors. I'll tell you. You want me to go through the path real quick? I'll go through the path. We're gonna be talking a little bit about college later, but I'll go through the path of all of the different things that I've tried. I came into college and I wanted to be a screenwriter. Okay. Realized very quickly, holy shit, I don't want to do that for a living. It's not like I hated screenwriting, but it was just I wanted to do other things. Then I thought I'd be an English teacher because I wanted to help people. And then I thought I'd be a psychologist. So I thought, okay. So I basically went from a film writing major to an English major to a psych major. And then I was like, nah, maybe I want to do something more corporate, go 9 to 5, baby. So I was like, econ. That sounds fun. No, it's not fun. Update. Sorry if you're an econ major. I feel bad, but it's not fun. It was not fun for me. Did econ. Barely passed my classes. Then I was like, all right, I'm going to do business. And then I started taking calculus and I wanted to cry. And I was like, yeah, fuck this. Can't do that either. And I did a lot of soul searching, I guess. And I finally found communications. Hopefully this is the one, instead of How I Met Your Mother, for me, it's How I Met Your Major. So, the never-ending odyssey of trying to find my major. But I think communications is it. I think this is probably going to be the degree I go get anyway, even if I fucking hate it. So, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. Just started taking some communications classes. Have had fun so far, but then again, it's only week 1. I might come on here and be like, I'm fucking done in 3 weeks. We don't know what the vibes are going to be, but no math. So your boy's a little happy about that. Personally, though, everything's been going good. Work's good. Podcast is good. Life is good. And today we're going to do something a little different with the Changavi Show, so I'm excited. It's kind of more just me spitting facts on what I'm thinking. And, we'll see what the audiences on my Instagram have to say about some of the shit that I say today. But who should care what I put out on the internet, right? So I got to just let it fly. I'm going to keep it casual Changavi today. You know the vibes. Let's get it going. And of course, I know I said I was going to be casual, but we have to talk about some serious stuff because Gabby Petito, Gabby freaking Petito, man, this case has somehow taken over the media cycle like no other. I was literally looking for news today. I was like, all right, or not today, but like for the show, I was like, all right, like let's see what the relevant news topics are. 7 articles. Gabby Petito, Brian Laundrie, Gabby Petito. That's all I've been hearing for the last few years or for the few weeks is this case. And so I was like, all right, we have to talk about Gabby Petito because it's relevant and it's trending. So let's do it. So what are the facts? Who the hell is Gabby Petito? There's probably a few people here who are like, is she some famous actress I never heard about? No. Okay, let's get it straight. Okay. Basically, Gabby Petito is a normal human being. She's like me. She's like you. She's like your teacher. She's just a normal human. She's 22, so she's a couple years older than I am. All right, I'm 20. So She's 22. She's already engaged, and her fiance decide one day, let's go on a cross-country road trip across the country. A lot of 20-somethings do this, right? A lot of 20-somethings go on road trips to find themselves in soul search and try to be like fucking, nomad land and be, live their lives. Okay, that's what they want to do. She wanted to go on a 4-month long cross-country road trip. I support it. I was, I didn't know Gabby Petito, but if she had told me that and we were homies, I'd be like, go for it. Okay, so she went on this 4-month long road trip with her fiance. But then things take a turn. This is where things become interesting. No. So in August, so middle of August, August 12th to be exact, her and her fiance are traveling through Utah. Specifically like Zion National Park. So basically the goal of their road trip was to hit as many national parks as possible. And so they hit Zion National Park as one of those national parks. And so they were in Zion, and apparently there was a couple people who were driving past their car. It was parked off to the side, and the couple was arguing, and basically 911 ended up being called by someone who reported that there was slapping and hitting and stuff going on. So the police come, they basically check out what's going on. Of course, they're nice because these people are white. And I watched the whole body cam footage for you guys to report back to show you guys what the information was. I watched an hour and 24 minutes of this body cam footage, man. It was very dry. If you ever try to watch police body cam footage, it is not interesting. Particularly when it's white people. When it's other people, yeah, I mean, it's a whole separate, that's an issue we should talk about on a Changavi report. But that's not what we're here to do. We're here to talk about Gabby Petito. So anyway, there's this whole, hour and a confrontation, and basically the policemen think about charging her with domestic violence because there's evidence that she slapped her fiance or whatever. And then they decide eventually, like, oh no, like, it wasn't anything too serious. So they decide to separate the both of them for the night. That is the last encounter that the couple had with law enforcement. So then fast forward a couple weeks, and Gabby Petito sends, and she'd been in pretty constant contact with her family. She was an influencer, so she was like making content for the whole trip. She was posting on her IG, her Twitter, whatever, TikTok. She had a YouTube channel. She was just kind of living that classic 20-year-old travel vlogger life, right? Living in the van, driving around the country, classic. So then a few weeks later, her family receives the last text from her, which basically, and I'm missing out on a lot of little details. I'm not here to explain all the facts, but here are like the main ones. So her family, or her mom, I think, or some family member receives the last text from her, and it basically says, in Yosemite, no cell service. So this kind of susses out the family members a little bit. This is August 28th. And they're like, well, they weren't supposed to go to Yosemite. Brian and Gabby were not. Brian is her fiance's name. They weren't supposed to go to Yosemite. Like, that was not part of the plan. They were supposed to come back. So fast forward a couple days, and Brian ends up in Florida on September 1st, I believe, back at his parents' house. And he's there without Gabby. And he basically pulls up to the house, and the family tries to contact him and his family. They don't respond. Brian practically goes on the run a few days after that, and basically there's a whole nationwide manhunt for him. We have not been able to find Brian. There's a whole arrest warrant out for him, all of that. So you must be thinking, like, where the hell is Gabby? Where the hell is Gabby? And that was what the nation was worried about for 2 weeks. Unfortunately, though, they did find Gabby, except now she's dead. And they found her in Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. So clearly there's some missing pieces here. But those are the facts that I have consensusly found. There's a lot of rumors flying around from friends being like, oh, Brian this, Brian that. And I don't want to like spread rumors. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to spread the facts. These are mostly the consensus facts that have been presented by many reports. Based on the body cam footage, I have my own speculations as to what happened, but we'll leave that for the next topic, which I'll get into right now. Why is Gabby Petito important? Okay. Yes, she was murdered, and that sucks, and that's awful, and that's horrible, right? We don't want to see people get murdered. If you do, well, I don't know what to do, man. But no one wants to see someone get murdered, okay? But why is it this case? There's so many murders that happen on a daily basis that barely graze the back pages of the local newspaper. I mean, shit, like, I live 40 minutes from San Francisco. I'm sure there's a two, three shootings that happen every month. None of them even fucking make the news at 11. Barely. They talk about it for a minute and then they move on. Shit happens, right? That's the media. But why is everyone obsessed with Gabby Petito? Like, yeah, like her fiance came back, but like, haven't these true crime cases happened before? And they don't really get nationwide coverage. Unless you're like Ted Bundy or like Edmund Kemper or some crazy serial killer. Like, this is just a true crime case. And then I was like, all right. I was looking and I was looking and I was looking, and the answer was right in front of me the whole time. I think one of the main reasons why people are so sensationalized over this case, and I look at a picture of Gabby Petito, it's very simple. She's Gen Z, she's blonde, she's white, and the cherry on top, she's good looking. That's why. That's why this case. I feel like that's why one of the main reasons why this case is popular is because Gabby Petito is a small white girl who looks like, quote unquote, America's darling. That's what the news can label this whole thing as. And at the end of the day, the news is looking to sell things. The news is looking to sell this case to the masses who are watching their various networks. And that is what happened in the case of Gabby Petito, unfortunately. Again, I don't want to take away anything from the fact that she passed away, and that's awful. And I, for the life of me, hope that send condolences to her family and anyone who was affected by the death of Gabby Petito. But the reality is, if this was someone of color, do you think they would have gotten the same media coverage? If this was someone who wasn't hot, would they have gotten the same media coverage? I mean, look at the true crime cases that have popularized the trend of true crime. A lot of them involve white women that are good looking. It's a fact. America has this weird thing when it comes to true crime that they don't really care about the many men and women of color that are missing on a daily basis, but they really like to focus on these, innocent white girls for some weird reason. It's really weird, and I think that's one of the main reasons why this case has been popularized. It's all over TikTok. You search up Gabby Petito on TikTok, there's millions upon millions of results. There's a stay-at-home mom in like Nebraska or some shit that has every detail on this case, that's covering the case from TikTok and has amassed a huge following because of it. Because of it. And I think people are interested. I mean, yes, she's Gen Z. Yes, she was an influencer, which is massive. So like people, get on that whole like, oh, like, Gabby Petito was an influencer, but she wasn't like a big influencer. Mind you, this wasn't like a, Charlie D'Amelio status. She was like your average like 2,000 follower on Instagram blogger, right? Or influencer or something like that. She wasn't anything crazy. But I understand, why this case is popularized is because, I mean, I think definitely race has something to do with this. If you don't think race has something to do with this, I'd be curious to hear why. It also has to do with the fact that she is a, a good-looking human. Like that doesn't help. That does help her case in terms of the media covering it. Like, sex sells. That's rule number one of advertising. And if most of the media, like people that, like Gabby Petito is a sympathetic figure if you think about it, right? She's someone, you search for a picture of Gabby Petito online, you can. It's very, very simple as to why you understand why America is obsessed with this. Is because number one, women are moms and, older women look at this, like, who watches the news? Okay, let's start there. Who watches the news? It's older people, right? So older men and older women. Older women are watching the news, sitting there like, oh, that could have been my granddaughter, right? Oh, that could have been my daughter. I mean, presuming they're white. Older men are sitting there thinking the same thing. That she has that innocent look to her, and that 100%, whether you like it or not, helps her case. It really does. And I think that's one of the reasons. Obviously, yes, the fact that she's young and this whole thing with Brian, coming back to Florida and all that is crazy. I admit it's a pretty crazy case, but I think if you are not like fully understanding if you don't admit that her being white and attractive has anything to do with the fact that this case is getting the coverage that it is. It's true. It's true. What has the news media been doing with police and school shootings for years? They refuse to call school shootings domestic terrorism, even though they are. They are domestic terrorism. I mean, I don't understand why do they call them, oh, they're just school shooters. They won't call them domestic terrorists. They are. They are domestic terrorists. I mean, they're killing people on US soil. Why can't we call them domestic terrorists? They're killing masses of people on US soil. Why can't we call them domestic terrorists? But as soon as a brown man, were to do the same thing, it's a terrorist attack. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm just going to leave it like that. Yeah, that's going to get a lot of people heated. And yeah, that's going to get people like, no, Gabby Petito's more than that, And that's fine. And again, no disrespect to Gabby Petito at all. Zero disrespect to Gabby Petito. I want to make that very, very clear. Zero disrespect to her. Her family is probably reeling. Send my condolences. Of course, send your love to the Petito family. But why is this case getting covered? Well, yeah, because Brian's being weird and there's a federal manhunt for him and they can't find him. But also, Gabby Petito is a white, attractive girl, and that helps her case. That's what I have to say about Gabby Petito, which is one of the most trending headlines in the U.S. right now. But transitioning from Gabby Petito, we got to talk about something that hit Netflix a couple of weeks ago. Marty Fish. Those of you are probably looking at that name like, Anuj, did you just make up that name? No, it's a name of a real person, and it's a name of a real tennis player, a real athlete. So I'm a big Netflix content consumer. Anything Netflix drops that's semi-interesting, I will watch. And Netflix recently dropped a documentary on American tennis and on Marty Fish and his mental health struggles. So a lot of people way back, like 4 months ago when the Naomi Osaka miniseries dropped, were super excited because, she was trending in the news and there's whole mental health thing had just happened. They thought that they were going to cover Naomi based on that. The Naomi Osaka miniseries, in hindsight, compared to this Marty Fish series, was peanuts. It sucked. It was awful. It was not very, very good. It was not very good. That's why you haven't heard a lot of people be like, oh my God, yes, Queen, at Naomi Osaka on Twitter. That's why, because the piece was frankly not that good. It's very middle of the pack, okay, compared to some of the other pieces I've seen on athletes. This Marty Fish piece is an 11 out of 10. It's fantastic. It's so good. I saw it in the first day. I was like, oh my God, it's an hour and 11 minutes. It's really worth the watch, particularly if you're into sports. It is 100% worth it, in my opinion, to watch. It basically talks about how it talks about American tennis and the pressure that Americans face to be the American number one, which basically means you're the number one ranked tennis player out of all of the United States of America. So you're the best tennis player in the U.S. essentially is what that means on either the men's or the women's. And it talks about this guy Marty Fish, who was a American tennis player who was kind of just an average American tennis player for a while. He was on the professional tour. He would just kind of he was decent. He was okay. He wasn't anything like crazy. He wasn't the GOAT or anything. But at the age of 29, he decides to make a career transformation because he wants to give it a shot and he doesn't want to regret his tennis career. And so basically it takes you along that whole journey, which culminates in this whole anxiety episode, which they talk about. And they basically talk about the anxiety that he faced on court and all of these various elements that he was battling mentally, along with trying to be one of the best tennis players in the world and achieving those goals. The piece is really, really good. They interview Marty. They, interview Andy Roddick, who is one of the other main great American players in that era. They interview Marty Fish's wife, trainer, all of that. It's a really, really good piece, and it really takes you inside the mind of an athlete. It's what I hoped the Naomi Osaka piece would be. They just do a really, really good job, I feel like. They really cover the whole story. They talk about all the tennis academies in the United States. And it's about athletes and mental health. And it's just a story that didn't necessarily get the coverage that it should have at the time. because back in 2016, when the piece first came out about Marty Fish and anxiety, it was way ahead of its time. Frankly, in 2016, we weren't talking about mental health. When that piece came out, we weren't talking about, oh, like the mental health of athletes. This Naomi Osaka has moved that conversation, and I give her credit for that. And now this piece in 2021, when it dropped, totally fits in with the time. And even though, and it kind of made me realize that like Marty Fish is a pioneer of mental health and of it, saying it's basically okay to give up on your dreams if you are feeling inferior, or if you are feeling like you are going to what's it called, just like harm yourself. And it's a really, really awesome piece. There's not much more I can say about it. It's I would even I would recommend it to non-sports fans. I'd recommend it to sports fans because they do a really good job of filling you into the background. But if you're a tennis fan, this is a must watch. Like, this is absolutely a must watch. Um, they talk about all of these, American tennis figures who I grew up watching. I was a big tennis fan for a long time. I still am. So it was really cool to be able to see everybody, um, all your old idols kind of talk and discuss in this documentary about their mental health and about their struggles. And I think the story has a really happy ending too. So I was really happy about that element of it. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this piece. I think it's called Unspoken or Untold. And you can just search up Untold Marty Fish. It'll come up on Netflix. 100% worth the watch. Marty, I just want to say, if you ever see this, like, thank you, man. Like, you really moved the conversation before we even knew that you moved the conversation, and that's something that I don't think you're going to get credit for, unfortunately, because that's a society we live in, and everyone's just going to talk about Naomi. But you brought the conversation to the table, and this piece is bringing that conversation back. So thank you, and I really respect you for that, man. So shout out to Marty Fish. Uh, so let's move on. Again, these topics are going to go all over the place. There's no real like trend, right? Like, I talked a little bit. I mean, Marty Fish is kind of sports, is kind of pop culture. Gabby Petito is like news, whatever. So I want to talk about something that I put up on my Instagram the other day. I've been doing these things called the questions of the night. Shout out to everybody who has participated in those questions of the night. And I've basically been asking all sorts of different questions just to kind of feel out where our generation stands. And I feel like my Instagram's a really, really good place to do it because I feel like I have a lot of people that I follow from all sorts of different perspectives. Like, I went to high school in a very particular area where there is a certain majority perspective. I went to college where people have a variety of different perspectives. Like, I feel like my Instagram is just mixed together now with all of these different people who have all sorts of different crazy opinions, to the point where I feel like it's a really good place to poll. So I was like, all right, and this is on my personal Instagram, by the way, not the podcast. I've started doing it on the podcast Instagram, but the majority, basically shows majority opinions because that's the people I've been surrounded by. Follow me on my podcast Instagram, by the way, at Essential Question Pod. But I asked this question: have you found college academics to be useful? And it was a 60-40 split, with a lot of people with 40% of people actually saying that they found their college academics to be pretty useless and that society kind of forced them to go to college. And 60% of people said that college was great. College was exactly what they needed. And and I've said this, I align in the 40%. I really do believe that college isn't necessarily useful for a lot of people. And I kind of wanted to expand on the take, which is why I brought it up as a topic. Because I did like a quick minute video on it on Instagram, but I feel like I didn't get to say all that I wanted to say. So I'm going to say all that I really want to say. College is useful for about 5 career paths. And let me list those career paths for you. If you want to be a researcher and research, stem cells within sheep in the 19th century or something ultra specific, discrete mathematical variables within the context of multivariable calculus, go to college. If you want to be a doctor, go to college. If you want to be a lawyer, even I kind of say, lawyer, maybe not. But if you want to be a lawyer for now, you got to go to college, right? You got to get the undergrad degree to go to law school, all that. If you want to be in tech, And by the way, with the doctor stuff, I include like all public health careers because you kind of need to go to college for all that. If you want to be in tech, you maybe don't have to go to college, depending on what you want to do. If you want to be a programmer, yeah. But if you want to research, yeah, go to college. And if you want to, again, academia, I mean, like that's research. If you want to be a teacher, go to college. Those are about the 5 things you need college majors for. If you want to be a marketing major, do you really have to go to college? Do you really learn anything in college? Basically, what you're paying for is you're paying for a freaking network. You're paying for it. I mean, that's what some of the arguments that were delivered to me as to like why college is great. Why is college great, Anuj? You get a network. Is that worth $40,000 a year? Or can you find a network somewhere else? Another argument I got was college provides me really good structure. And that's fantastic. If that works for you, then I'm all for it. I support you. But $40,000 for structure? Like, I feel like that's something that you can figure out on your own. You know what I'm saying? Academically, is college useful? Break it down. Socially, college is super unique. I will, yes, if you value your social life, then absolutely go to college. It's a great place to meet people. It's a great place to hang out. And I met a lot of my best friends in college. I like it. I like it for the social reason. I liked college for the social reasons. Okay. I'm obviously back at community college where there's no social life and everything's online. So I don't particularly know that whole facet of things. But if you like college because of the social life, absolutely. I agree with you. It's very unique. You don't get an experience like that. Do it if you just want to talk. But is that worth $20,000 a year? Is that worth like that? That's just like that boggles my mind. The massive price tag that society puts on this education, where I've asked people who've gone to college, who've gotten undergrad degrees in tech, in STEM, in humanities, even, do you use your degree in your job? And most of them say, I mean, I use elements of it, but not a lot. Not a lot. Probably maybe 10%. 10%. And I get it, dude. I'm Indian. I'm not supposed to be saying this shit, right? My dad tells me all the time, oh, Anuj, college is very useful. You know, you learn a lot of useful skills which you apply to the workforce. My dad doesn't have an accent, but I give him an accent. You all, OG fans have heard his voice on this podcast. But I don't really believe that. I don't necessarily believe that college is completely useful. Like, college classes are useful. Dude, I took a class. I've taken multiple calculus classes, and I've yet to find the purpose of what that is going to be in my life. Yet, as a humanities major, I've had to take calculus. I've had to take statistics. Why? 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 I don't. General education makes no sense to me. They should just go straight to the thing. Here, 2 years, you're out. I don't know. Maybe that's a solution. But honestly, college academics are dumb. College academics feel like, I don't know. They're just kind of, you don't really learn anything. It's a classroom can only take you so far. You learn so much more in life. And I've told people this. I started working last year. Nothing crazy. No, I don't work at Intel or fucking tech company or anything. I worked at pizza places. I've worked at pizza places for almost more than a year now. And I've learned more working than I have anywhere else. I truly mean that. I've learned more on a job, how to interact with people, how to deal with customers, how to deal with this, how to run a register, how to have social skills, how to do all of these things that are way more useful, that are actually more applied than a fucking classroom. And I mean that. And that is no offense to teachers, because teachers, y'all are, awesome. But I don't think a college education is necessarily useful in today's society, because I see a lot of people around me building businesses, taking their careers and building projects and then getting jobs. Like, I feel like we're developing into a project, into an experience based economy. And frankly, college takes away from experience. I mean, imagine this, dude. Okay, this was a hypothetical I really wanted to put out. Suppose that you are an upcoming high school senior, or you're an upcoming college freshman, right? And you get into UC Santa Barbara, okay, for fucking computer science, right? Like every other Indian kid. And so you have that. And tuition is $14,000 a year. So 14 times 4 is 56. I can do math. So $56,000, okay, your parents are about to spend. But as you're about to go to college, your parents are like, hold on. What if we pay you $56,000 and you can start your life instead of us paying 4 years of tuition? Like, that's obviously assuming the fact that your parents are paying tuition. A lot of people, parents don't pay tuition. A lot of people have to be like, but I also like flip that around. You are a student, your parents aren't paying for college, you're paying for college, and you sit there and you're like thinking to yourself, you're like, what if I save myself $56,000? I bet on myself, I work for a couple years, go to community college if I need to take classes, and then figure it out. Financially, it makes no sense. Like the numbers don't crack out. It doesn't add up for me. I don't understand. And I made a thought of the week about this, right? Like I strongly believe that tech companies are actually trending in this direction of, oh, do you have a project that I could see? Oh, this project is awesome. I don't give a shit if you have a computer science degree. If you can do this project, then yeah, welcome aboard, bud. I think that's where we're trending. We are not trending towards a society where college degrees are going to be useful. Perhaps in, 30 years, people are going to value projects more than they value fucking college. I get it, dude. And I get it. I really do. I get the fact that college is a once in a lifetime experience. You do a lot of crazy shit. You have fun with your friends. You get drunk at your first party. You have your, whatever. You go to a frat party. You join a frat. You have all these crazy social experiences. You meet the people that are going to shape the rest of your life a lot of times. Yeah, I get that 100%. But also, academically, it makes so little sense. Unless you're going to go play. And then, oh, yeah, the sixth one is if you're going to go play a sport, then yeah, you kind of got to go to college because, NFL and NBA draft right now, at least. Even that's changing. You got to get drafted from college. I don't know. The question is college truly useless? I don't know, but I'm leaning towards yes. And that's my college rant for the day. But we're going to move on to a little bit of a music topic. Get to this real quick. And I'm not going to do push-ups because this is just me spilling my thoughts at 8 o'clock at night. So anyway, let's talk about Ty Verdes. So Ty Verdes, for those of you that don't know, is the guy who wrote that song on TikTok that's like, she said, do you really want you? But I bet you got hoes, right? Like that song, Stuck in the Middle, right? Like that song. And then what's the other one? I don't want to be A-O-A-O-K, right? Like those songs popped off on TikTok. But do you know Ty Lopez was actually working at a Verizon before Stuck in the Middle just decided to pop off on TikTok? Isn't that kind of crazy? Like he was like trying to make this music thing work and work and work and work, and literally overnight, bang, TikTok just picked up his song and it became the biggest trend, one of the bigger trends on TikTok in the last year. And now he's been able to build a music career out of it. And it's been this meteoric rise. He's got this podcast he did with Colin and Samir, which was really fantastic. Highly recommend you guys go watch it. Shout out to Colin and Samir. Yeah, go watch that podcast. You'll kind of really get to see why Ty Verdes is where he is. He's a really smart guy. But he released his debut album, TV, hence his initials, Ty Verdes, but it's also like, television. So double entendre. And it was really good. It was really good. I actually think the three worst songs on the album are the three singles that are popular on TikTok: Drugs, A-OK, and Stuck in the Middle. I didn't like any of the Stuck in the Middle is all right. Like they're just too popular for me. I didn't really like them. But the other songs are really good. It's this very like unique vibe. It's not necessarily, I wouldn't even describe it as pop music for Ty Verdes, but it was really like interesting. It was a very eclectic taste. A lot of guitar, a lot of like mumble singing, like just it feels indie, but it's pop. If that makes any sense. It's popular music, but it's indie, but it feels art house. Those movies you watch where it's like, wow, that's an indie film, but it's like everybody in their right mind is watching it. That's like what Ty Verdes' album feels like. There's a song called Solamente, which is really, really good. I very much enjoyed that song. I enjoyed we will make some really cute kids. Like, I don't know. I just felt like he was having fun. You can kind of tell when an artist is really having fun making music, or like when an artist is forcing music. I talked a little bit about on my first Changavi show, which Adam Levine saw, about how Adam Levine is, like that latest album didn't feel like he was having fun. Ty Verdes feels like he's having the ball of his time. It feels like, oh my God, I'm making money making music. This is awesome. And he's just like singing about random stuff and he's just having fun. And it goes through a variety of moods and vibes. And it's a chill album is how I describe it. And it's really, really fantastic. So for those of you that haven't listened to it, go and listen to Ty Verdes' album TV, available on Spotify. It's really good. It's been one of the listens of the week for me, I guess, that I've really been listening to and really been bumping. Really have enjoyed those songs, and they're really nice to study to too. It's pretty chill. It's not like anything crazy where you're like, straight up just like jamming, but it's not like, super sad or anything. So it's really chill and it's really nice. It's really nice study music. It's a really nice album. Highly recommend if you're into music, go check out Ty Verdes. I just thought I would talk a little bit about him. I know he's super popular, off TikTok and all these things, but I don't think people are really listening to this debut project besides those 3 singles. So go check it out because it's really freaking good. And I could see Ty Verdes hanging around for a while here in this music industry. He's unique. All right. Speaking of unique, we got to talk about something. We got to talk about something real important. This is a theory by yours truly that I came up with, that I've been coming up with. I presented this for the first time in college, like 2 years ago, a little tipsy, and people thought it was kind of true. So I want to present a more kind of, intellectual version of that. Micro generations. It's something I've been thinking about a lot. Do you feel like, when sociologists kind of like put groupings on things, they're like Gen X, 1969 through 1985. Millennials, 1985 through 1996. Gen Z, 1996 through 2011, right? Like, those are pretty big ass groups of people. I mean, I get it why sociologists do it, right? They need to find trends and they need at least 20 years or whatever it is, for their graphs to make sense. And they need a lot of data. You can't just do this. But I thought to myself, I was like, hold the phone. Gen Z doesn't make any sense. Typically, Gen Z is defined as 1995 through 2011. Okay, like if you were born during those years, you are Gen Z. I don't think it makes sense. Here's why. The kid in 1995 is, help me out, 26, I think. God damn it, I can't do math. 26, some mid-20s, okay? He's living his life. He's probably working from home. He lives in a fucking, whatever. Out of college 3 years ago. He's trying to figure it out. Kid in 2011, she's 9 years old right now. Turning 10. She's having her 10th birthday. Her probably Fortnite themed. What the hell does 2011 have in common with 1996 kid? 1996 kid is, working from home. 2011 kid is having her 10th birthday party on Zoom. There's no fucking, there is no correlation that you can take and be like, all right, the 1996 kid and the 2011 kid have this in common. No. So that's why I came up with the idea of micro generations. Okay. I think there are generations within generations, and I believe this. And I think the micro generations are anywhere from about 4 to 5 years. So let's stick with this hypothetical, right? I don't really know too many people that were born in the late 80s. Okay. That's not necessarily my target demographic of person. That's not really the target person that I interact with, okay, so to speak. The people I interact with are mostly from 1990 to on, okay? So 1990 to 1994 can be its own microgeneration, okay? 94 to 98 can be its own microgeneration. 98 to 2002. That's my generation. Okay. So let's stick with these two that we talked about. So 94 to 98 is its own generation. I believe that 94 to 98 is its own generation. If you were born between the years of 1994 and 1998, you're very different from the people that were born between the years of 1998 and 2002. Okay. You're very freaking different. If you were born, like 1994 to 1998 was kind of in that weird era of like, they experienced the latter half of the 90s a little bit for some of them. And then they really experienced the 2000s, the full Avril Lavigne punk rock era, all of that stuff. They were full in it. They were full in that dyed hair goth era of music. And I'm talking like music and pop culture because I think this is what like most people can kind of, get behind. 1990, and then like what is the other one? 1998 to 2002. Yeah, okay. 98 to 2002. This is its whole separate generation. I like to call this micro generation the Directioners. Okay. I think they're very much like, because this was the band, this was how the band One Direction, these were the people they profited off the most. Okay. It was the Directioners. It was the people born between the years of 1998 and 2002. I mean, we're the ones that remember One Direction the most, right? Because 94 to 98 was kind of a little older when One Direction came out. They were like in college and stuff, so they weren't really boy band crushing. We were in the thick. If you were born in 2000 or 2001 or 2002, you were in the thick of that generation of One Direction in middle school, right? You were listening to Hey Girl, I'm Waiting on You in middle school. You were listening to And Live While We're Young and fucking Let Me Kiss You, like all throughout middle school. And as much as the guys hated to admit that they liked One Direction, when their parents weren't home and when there was no girls around, they would blast, You Don't Know You're Beautiful and jam out to that shit. Okay, I did. I was in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. I was blasting 1D. I do not hide the fact that I was big into One Direction and that there were many girls in my grade that were wearing Liam Payne backpacks in my day. That happened. Okay. So I think we're the Directioners. I think 94 to 98 is this like punk rock generation. 2002 to 2006, dude, I see it, bro. I interact with people from 2003 to 2004, 2000, who were born between the years of 2003 to 2006, actually a significant amount because I work with a lot of high school kids. They're very, very different. Okay. This one kid I interact with, I'm not going to name names, but he'll know who he is if he listens to this. He's like, I was talking about Elton John to someone, and he was like, "Oh yeah, my brother's girlfriend told me about him. He sounded pretty cool." And that's when I was like, "Okay, yeah, we are not in the same generation. There is a micro generation here. There is a clear gap. You don't know OG Rihanna. You don't know OG Elton John. You didn't grow up with 90s bands, even though you were born in 2000. You don't know that shit, bro. You don't know that shit. You grew up with fucking What Does the Fox Say in elementary school, okay? You did not grow up with what I grew up with in elementary school. You didn't grow up with TikTok on the clock. You grew up with What Does the Fox Say? So that's what you grew up with. That is why I believe micro generations are a thing, because we grew up with completely different pop culture things. Economically, our trends could be the same, sure. And I think for big picture sociological things that aren't serious, micro generations don't work. But I believe that in terms of like things that we've experienced in our childhood, when it comes to pop culture moments, when it comes to sports moments, when it comes to like actual big picture news moments, micro generations work. And they are a thing, and they should be, because me and my brother should not be both designated as Gen Z because we grew up in very different eras of life at time. And I think he would agree with that as well. So that's my micro generation theory. I know I'm gone over, so I'm just going to go real quick through these last two. I just want to give a quick shout out to some TV shows that I've been watching. I did a TV show podcast a couple of, like 4 or 5 months ago with my good friend Isaiah. Shout out. And we talked about all our favorite TV shows. I'm talking, like Euphoria for me, The Wire for him, New Girl, On My Block. I'm talking about all these things. Dude, it's time to talk about some new favorites that I've been enjoying, but also some old ones, because some of the old ones have been coming out with new seasons. So Sex Education recently dropped its 3rd season, which was one of my favorites towards the end of high school was when it released. I really enjoyed it. I really like Sex Education. The first 2 seasons are awesome. They're super funny, and it's British humor. So if you're not really into that whole like dry sense of humor, then you're not going to really like Sex Education. Also, if you're not into graphic things, graphic imagery, and if you're not into sex, well, I mean, it doesn't actually matter if you're into sex, but if you're not into like seeing sex on screen, then don't watch this show. There's a lot of it, but it's very funny. I think it's really funny. It's about a high school that basically, is going through, and a bunch of teenagers that are going through their classic, teenage sex, love, and intimacy issues. And one of the kids decides to become a sex therapist. So that's essentially the premise of the show. It's really funny. It's very witty. I would not recommend watching with your parents. This is a headphone watch show. I think if you're in your house with your little sibling, please watch it with headphones. Yeah, no, that's a Sex Education. So that the 3rd season dropped. I was kind of disappointed. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it really wasn't that very good. I felt it dragged a little bit, and it wasn't very interesting. Another show I've been watching, Lucifer. I know this is a show that's been on for a really long time. I've had a ball with it. I love Lucifer. I think he's so funny. I just love his mannerisms because they kind of he just acts like a little priss and it's like a little douche and it's really funny and it's I don't know. I like it. I also think the detective, Chloe Decker, shout out, super attractive. That's besides the point. But but Lucifer is really entertaining. It's about like the devil basically coming to earth and trying to like solve cases and like redeem himself for all the bad that he's done and all this stuff. So it's really good. I really like Lucifer. It's been entertaining. I didn't really know about it in high school, but you know, started watching it now and I'm enjoying it. So don't spoil it for those of you that know me. What else? You is coming out with this new season. I am really excited about that. You is super fun. It's obviously a very thrilling show. A lot of crazy shit going on with Joe. Apparently there's supposed to be a baby this season, so that's about to be entertaining. Come on now. You is entertaining, bro. I originally thought it was like a show for girls and shit, but I started watching it and I was like, holy crap, this is really good. And then season 1 was awesome, and season 2 arguably was even better. So I'm excited what season 3 is. The cinematography just seems like exponentially better and all of that stuff. The trailer was edited beautifully. Cannot wait for it to come out. On My Block coming out with this final season. Those of you that don't know, On My Block is kind of like this Goonies vibe, like it's about kids basically growing up in the hood. And it's like from all the articles that I've read, it's supposedly, and people I've talked to, it's supposedly like one of the best represented shows when it comes to like the hood and like talking about like all the different things that go down and all that. It's really good. Very highly recommend. It's a lot of fun. It's very funny. It's like it feels kiddie, but it feels serious at the same time because there are actual real shit issues going on. So the final season of the show, which I'm really sad about, is coming out in the beginning of October. So I'm really excited. I'm probably gonna binge it in a weekend and cry because it's over. So yeah, On My Block. And what's another one? I mean, new TV shows I've been watching. I mean, Lucifer has honestly been taking up most of my time. I had a bad Grey's Anatomy phase for a summer. I dropped that. But yeah, no, like Lucifer is probably the number one that I've been watching, and I've really been enjoying that. It's a lot of fun and it's really funny. So, and then obviously, I watch my sports. So, but Lucifer, and I love you, Chloe Decker, if you're watching. I love it. I love this show, and I love Chloe Decker. But I want to make the show also very clear. Celebrity crushes. This is the last thing I want to talk about. And I know I was talking about Chloe Decker, who's probably like one of, my celebrity crushes right now. But I think this whole idea of celebrity crushes is super interesting. I am someone who has had a celebrity crush for a really long time. And if you don't know who that is, you don't know who I am really well. It's Alex Morgan. For those of you that don't know, it's on the internet now. I'm sorry. But yeah, she's been my celebrity crush for a really, really long time. And something's interesting. I mean, it's interesting about celebrity crushes, I guess, is that like they change over time. And like it's weird, I think as you grow older, you like crush on different people. And also like, I don't know, it's just an interesting phenomenon for me. I've had so many different people come up to me and tell me tell me their celebrity crushes and like they just range. Like it's so interesting. Like I find it so fascinating to hear about people's celebrity crushes because I think it kind of tells you like the type of person that they are in terms of the fact that like, oh, like, they're into like dreamy people or like, oh, they're into like realistic people, if that makes any sense. Because there are like people of Hollywood who are just like at this level where it's like, all right, fuck. Like never gonna be there. Like I am not. Yeah, and then there's like the people who are like, okay, like I could look like him. Like, like there are individuals that look like that person or like look like that, human being. And then there's like, oh, that's your celebrity crush. Like, yeah, no judgment, but like that's your celebrity crush. Like I don't know. So it totally depends. But no, I find the whole notion around celebrity crushes to be interesting. I think there's a lot of basic ones, like obviously like Brad Pitt, Bradley Cooper, um, you know, buff people, buff, tall men in Hollywood, Chris Evans, Captain America, Robert Downey Jr. maybe. Um, Miles Teller apparently is a really big one that I didn't know about. For me, I've had a huge list. But it's Alex Morgan right now. and always probably will be. I also do appreciate the stuff Alex Morgan does off the field or like on the field too. I just appreciate the fact that she's like literally one of the best women's soccer players we've seen in like in like a couple decades, and she literally gets unrecognized for it. She's caused a dynasty to happen. She's won multiple gold medals. She keeps winning. Yeah, they got bronze at the Olympics. They took an L, but like, dude, they're probably gonna win the next World Cup. The U.S. women's team's badass. I just want to give my love to the U.S. women's team because they're freaking good. But Alex Morgan has been like my celebrity crush since I was 11, and it probably won't change. We're 11 years strong almost, Alex. So yeah, but but yeah, that's my celebrity crush. It's Alex Morgan. For those of you that don't know, I thought I would do this little segment to get people to get to know me a little better. But that's all I have for the show. I know it was a lot of rambling thoughts. It was very different from your typical Changavi show, but I thought I'd experiment. I thought I'd have fun. The abortion show dropped. That was very serious. It was very like, whoa, 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 whoa. So I thought I would just, be a little casual, have a little fun, experiment a little bit on the mic, sing, Um, so yeah, if you guys enjoyed this content, like and subscribe. Follow on socials. Do what you want to do. But yeah, 51 minutes is a little long. I apologize. But that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for paying attention. And I hope you all have a great day. Peace.